Winning sometimes seems so easy. For those born with the right genes, gifted the right facilities, blessed with good health and fitness, victory can seem almost assured. But for many athletes, there are hidden obstacles, some of their own making. Others can feel the pressure of the intense spotlight. The trick is fighting back and dancing to the podium with style. The comeback is always sweet, and even sweeter when it's against the odds. Brilliant, charismatic, controversial. Diego Armando Maradona is a hero easy to identify, but difficult to pin down. The Argentinian wasn't just a good footballer, he might be the greatest that ever lived. In 2000, FIFA named him and the immortal Pelé joint winners of the Player of the 20th Century award. His performance at the 1986 World Cup in Mexico remains arguably the greatest individual showing at a tournament in football history. And he transformed Napoli from also-rans to Serie A title winners almost single-handedly. But he also battled substance abuse, fell foul of authorities for unpaid taxes, and remained hated in England for his infamous Hand of God goal in the 1986 World Cup quarter-final. Up next, we chart the life and times of Maradona, one of the most talented and tempestuous heroes in football. Maradona's story begins in a poor neighborhood of Buenos Aires. Despite the inauspicious surroundings, the young Maradona flourished, showing prodigious talent at an early age, excelling in street football and displaying a gift for ball control. Argentinos juniors nurtured that promise, eventually handing him his professional debut as a 15-year-old. He was the youngest player in the history of the Primera Division. In no time at all, his squat physique and dancing feet transfixed the football-mad country. He starred domestically and drove his national side to their first World Youth Championship in 1979.
I was very lucky to play with Maradona. He had a unique relationship with the ball. He was very sculptural in everything he did. It was beautiful watching him.
By the time he was 20, Maradona had already scored over 100 goals and was ready for the next step in his career: a transfer to powerhouse Boca Juniors. A first domestic title proved the springboard to global acclaim and a world record transfer to Barcelona. Maradona's time in Catalonia was marred by illness, injury, and disciplinary problems, many brought about by the rough treatment he was subjected to on-field. Maradona had the misfortune of operating at a time when referees allowed much more aggressive and potentially injurious challenges than at any point in the game's history. It was therefore no surprise when he made his second world record transfer, this time to Napoli in 1984. It would prove the defining move of his career.
I felt I was a Naples citizen since the first day I wore Napoli's number 10 jersey.
Napoli.
Maradona delivered the most successful period in Napoli's history, leading the club to their first ever Serie A title in 1987, and their second 3 seasons later. He became the club's leading goal scorer and remains their most celebrated icon.
He is a player that will go down in history. He was mythical on the football field. Nobody can overcome him.
For me, Maradona represented a symbol of Naples, a symbol of redemption. So I like to remember him.
Anywhere I go,
Diego, el que ama no dimentica.
I can see the name Diego written.
Y questo
And who loves can't forget. And it's something that I'll keep in my heart, because there is no community that has loved me as much as you did.
When Maradona left Napoli in 1991, his iconic number 10 jersey was retired. Riding high during his time in Italy, Maradona transferred his mesmerizing form onto the international stage. At Mexico '86, he dominated a World Cup tournament in a manner unrivaled before or since. By far the best player on display, he captained his country to the title, was named the tournament's best player, and scored the second most number of goals. One of which, his second against England in the quarter-final, later voted the best World Cup goal of all time.
Él está insertado dentro de un momento político de Argentina y
He is part of the historical moment of Argentina and of the whole world. He is synonymous with Argentina. When you say the word Maradona, you say the word Argentina. He is one of the icons, personalities most classic and unique of the 20th and 21st centuries.
del siglo XX y principios de este siglo.
'86 was Maradona's World Cup. Everyone else in Mexico was there simply to provide the supporting cast. This was never more apparent than in that same quarter-final against England, when Maradona punched the ball into the net beyond Peter Shilton in one of the most controversial incidents in football history. He later immortalized the moment by calling it a goal scored by the hand of God.
En el 86 no había la tecnología que hay hoy.
In '86, you did not have today's technology. It was impossible. They blamed the referee. But the 85,000 in that stadium in Mexico did not see my hand. Now they say, yes, I saw it. But they saw the photos. They saw the replays. They had the VAR. But after the match. We thank God, or our brother Maradona, that thanks to him all the world knows Argentina. Maradona is Argentina.
After scaling his career Everest, Maradona's fortunes began to decline. There were still good times on the pitch with Napoli, but they were being overtaken by scandals off-field. None more so than a 15-month ban for failing a drug test for cocaine. Maradona's international career lasted until 1994, and his club career until '97. But it was a slow decline as weight gain and a hectic life away from football took its toll. A decade away from the sport was not short of controversy, and it came as an incredible surprise that he came out of retirement to coach the Argentinian national side in 2008. Maradona was as combustible in the dugout as he was on the field, and his 2-year reign ended with Argentina reaching the quarter-finals of the 2010 World Cup. Maradona is now a gun for hire, traveling the world for coaching and exhibition opportunities. A musical has been made of his life story.
It is a great challenge. I want to treat it as just another role, but that's not possible because he's alive, because I have seen him, I have cried for him, I have become emotional because of him. It's difficult for me to separate myself from him.
An acclaimed movie is in line for a string of awards, all of which contributes to Maradona's legacy and cements his status as one of the greatest footballers of all time.
We're talking about one of the icons of world football, of history. He left a mark on history. I remember my debut. On the bench, it was Napoli-Milan, and I just stopped, staring at Maradona warming up. You can imagine, I was 17 and I was looking at Maradona. It was a planetary thing.
A legend in Argentina, idolized in Italy, revered all over the world. The most brilliant and controversial of heroes, Diego Maradona. Coming up, the man who rewrote the record books at Manchester United and England, Sir Bobby Charlton. Bobby Charlton starred in the only English side to ever win the World Cup. He captained Manchester United as they became the first English team to lift the European Cup. When he retired, he did so as the leading goalscorer and appearance record holder for both his club and his country. But the career of this understated hero was nearly ended almost as soon as it had begun. The young Charlton was one of a number of Manchester United players selected at an early age by inspirational manager Sir Matt Busby. Known affectionately as the Busby Babes, the group were on a rapid path to fame and glory until tragedy struck in 1958, only Charlton's second full season as a professional. On the 6th of February, United were travelling home from Belgrade via Munich after beating Red Star in the European Cup quarter-finals. Charlton scored twice in the Partizan Stadium and, aged just 20, was ready to take the world by storm. But the plane carrying him and his teammates crashed on takeoff from Munich airport. Of the 44 people on board, 23 died. Charlton was among the 21 fortunate survivors. His survival was a miracle, let alone his ability to continue his footballing career. Slowly, Charlton put the tragedy behind him, and as he grew in stature, the fortunes of his club and country improved with him. Coming up, how Charlton went from the wreckage of the Munich disaster to the glory of winning a World Cup. An attacking midfielder or deep-lying forward, Charlton was admired for his stamina and famed for his thunderbolt shots with either foot. By 1966, Charlton's goal-scoring exploits were renowned, and they were pivotal in helping England claim their maiden World Cup. Hats off to England. He played in every match on home soil, scoring in the group phase against Mexico, and then firing a semi-final brace against Portugal to drag the hosts past well-credentialed opponents. By the time the final against West Germany came around, Charlton was arguably the most influential figure at the tournament.
97,000 people paid over £200,000 to see it, the greatest soccer game ever played in these islands. England in red instead of their usual white, never before in the World Cup final, but playing a team who've never beaten us before, West Germany, who won the Cup in 1954.
When Bobby Moore shook hands with Uwe Seeler before kickoff, little did he know that his German counterpart was so afraid of Charlton's influence, he was prepared to sacrifice his side's best passer, Franz Beckenbauer, to man-mark England's number 9.
For the thousands at Wembley, for the millions who've been following the contest all over the world, this is the climax.
For all England's expectation, it was Germany who drew first blood. Charlton a bystander when Helmut Haller swiveled expertly to bury the opening goal. But Charlton was tireless on the wide expanses of Wembley, and he was quickly in the thick of engineering a comeback. His combination play with Moore created the free kick from which Geoff Hurst levelled with a deft header. Germany responded by forcing Charlton onto the defensive, tracking back to help out brother Jack, the rock at the heart of England's defence. But Charlton's attacking instincts could not be curbed, and he drew a good save from Hans Tilkowski shortly before half-time. When Charlton got the second half underway, nobody could have predicted the drama that would follow. After half an hour of probing, and with the tension setting in, England seized the upper hand for the first time in the match when Martin Peters stabbed home. There were just 12 minutes to hold out. And Charlton was unable to make them a procession when he slashed an effort off target.
Then only 30 seconds from the whistle, a free kick for Germany. Weber has equalized. The World Cup has slipped from her fingers. 30 more minutes of agonizing effort.
Agonizingly, the two sets of tired bodies were forced to endure extra time. With rain now making the turf heavy and players from both sides exhausted, the game became stretched. Then 10 minutes into added time, the most dramatic moment in World Cup history. Hurst twisted and fired the ball goalwards. But did his effort cross the line? The Swiss referee consulted his Russian linesman, and the goal was awarded. It remains as controversial now as it was over 50 years ago. With Germany forced to chase the game, England and Charlton had space to exploit. And Hurst took full advantage, belting home his hat-trick goal as the shadows lengthened over an ecstatic Wembley. Charlton was a World Cup winner, and the climb up the famous steps to receive his winner's medal from the Queen could not have been sweeter. The sun-bathed lap of honour with the cherished Jules Rimet trophy remains the high point in English football history, and Charlton was instrumental in it occurring. By now, Charlton was at the peak of his powers. He was listed in the team of the World Cup, named the Footballer of the Year in England, and awarded the prestigious Ballon d'Or. As the product of a coal mining community in northeast England, there was little chance of Charlton resting on his laurels, especially not with unfinished business at Manchester United to attend to. Alongside other icons of the 1960s, George Best and Dennis Law, United had regrouped following the Munich disaster. And led by the indefatigable Busby, they were on a mission to capture the European Cup that had been so cruelly snatched from their grasp. In 1968, they were afforded a golden opportunity, a final against Benfica at Wembley. Charlton opened the scoring on 53 minutes. But Benfica were unbowed and equalised, taking the game to extra time. Here, United's greater fitness told, and spurred on by the irrepressible Best, they scored 3 unanswered goals, Charlton bagging the 4th and final to send United fans into delirium. Charlton once again climbed the famous Wembley steps, this time as captain, to hoist aloft the most prestigious trophy in club football, the first Englishman ever to do so. It was his crowning glory. There has never been a more popular footballer. He was as near perfection as man and player as it is possible to be, remarked Sir Matt Busby admiringly. Charlton's playing career lasted another 5 years, but never again reached such dizzying heights. When he finally called time, Charlton did so after making the most appearances in the history of Manchester United and scoring a record number of goals, landmarks that stood for decades. He also bowed out as record cap holder for his country, only one of 9 men to have ever appeared for England more than 100 times. And he held England's all-time goal-scoring record for almost 50 years. After retiring, he cemented his bond with United by joining the club's board as a director, a role he has held for more than 30 years. To this day, he remains a vital link to one of the most glorious eras in the club's history.
The philosophy has always been at Manchester United that you don't do things ordinary. You always, if you can, try to be adventurous. And that was the philosophy of Matt Busby, and that's the philosophy today.
In the late 1980s, Charlton was instrumental in the recruitment of one of his club's more modern legends, David Beckham. Beckham's father was a Manchester United supporter and gave his son the middle name of Robert in honour of Charlton, sowing the seed for the future. Then, when Beckham was 10 years old, he spent time at Charlton's soccer school, the youngster catching the eye of all who were there, with the experience fast-tracking him to Old Trafford's stardom. In 1994, Charlton became just the 8th footballer to receive a knighthood. In 2008, a statue titled the United Trinity was erected outside Old Trafford, showing Charlton, Best and Law in their 60s pomp. It was during this period of United's history that the club captured global attention with their attacking football and raucous terraces, setting the foundation for the behemoth that is modern Manchester United. In 2016, United announced the latest recognition of Charlton's place in the club's identity, renaming the main stand at Old Trafford in his honour. 2 years later, Charlton's extraordinary lifetime in football came full circle. At a ground bearing his name, while his likeness, immortalised in bronze, kept watch outside, Charlton led a service to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the Munich disaster.
When the accident happened, Harry Gregg, our goalkeeper, and Bill Folkes, our central defender, they were the only two that actually came out of the accident. And I had a little effort that came down to my head, but there was nothing serious really. But Manchester United were at the forefront of football in Europe. It was very, very important that Matt Busby came and he said that we will be a force in Europe very soon. And it turned out to be the case. We coming back from European match, and in Munich we had some problems with the aeroplane, and we had a terrible accident for which a lot of really great soccer players were unfortunately part of.
Outside Old Trafford, supporters gathered beneath the commemorative clock to pay their respects to the players who lost their lives in pursuit of their dreams. Dreams only Charlton would go on to realise.
Ladies, gentlemen, children, fellow United supporters, I welcome you all to this place where for many years those tragic events of the 6th of February 1958 have been remembered.
Inside the ground, fans on the Stretford end held banners saluting their fallen heroes, while modern legends Sir Alex Ferguson and Jose Mourinho joined Charlton in a minute's silence.
Today's game sees us remember the Munich air disaster in what is the 60th anniversary of that fatal tragedy. 23 people lost their lives in 1958, including 8 players and 3 members of staff.
Sir Bobby Charlton, a hero for club and country, and a reminder of the fine margins that separate tragedy and triumph.